So I am joined today by Freshta Tori Jan, who is finishing up her second year at Calvin University, studying political science and pre-law. And Freshta is also a global human rights activist and has done a fair amount of public speaking. So we appreciate you stopping by and joining us today, Freshta. Second year at Calvin, and you've recently started a business, I understand, that's helping serve the homeless population in Grand Rapids. Can you talk a little bit more about that initiative?
Yeah, so when the pandemic hit and our school, Calvin was closing and we had to leave the dorms, it was around the same time when I had just come home and I was sipping tea. It was a very cold day outside, very gray, dark, and we had the news on, and then all of a sudden I hear that the homeless have been hit the hardest by the COVID-19, and that really touched my heart, and I couldn't imagine what they could be going through. They said that all the homeless shelters were closed because they were afraid of the virus spreading. But for all these individuals, the homeless shelters are their only option to get food, to find shelter, to shower, all types of things that you need to protect yourself. And I didn't know what to do, and I really, really wanted to help. And so I remember that we had a big pile of Goodwill clothes, and Goodwill was closed, so we couldn't take them. And then I just remembered that like growing up at home, all girls are kind of required to learn how to sew. And so I was like, why not use my basic skills to start making masks for the homeless? That's the least I can do to at least try to help prevent from them, getting the virus. And so I started making masks for them, and we were handing them out. And I remember this one day we were taking the masks downtown, and a few cars stopped by, and they were like, "Are you selling these masks?" And we were like, "No, they're free. They're for the homeless." And so they were like, please, we'll pay you. We'll pay you double. Just drop the masks and we'll pay you and leave. And then we were like, okay, you can have the masks. So, but then that was not the only time that I got orders and to make more masks. So the orders kept coming in, and then that's the point where I was like, maybe I should open an online store where I can make these masks, and customers can either purchase it for themselves, their families, their friends, or they can make their purchases, and then I'll deliver the masks to the homeless downtown.
You obviously have a heart for marginalized people, I would say. And can you talk a little bit about maybe how your story even has shaped you to care so much for your neighbors?
Yeah, so I grew up in Afghanistan, and my family faced a lot of different injustices every single day. When I was in 8th grade, the Taliban shut down my school, and it was very hard because, first of all, it's very hard for girls to already get an education, and when that happened, I was so broken. I just felt it was so unfair. That could not be the end of my dreams. That couldn't be the end of me trying to make a change in my country, around the globe, anywhere that I can. And on top of that, there were other issues like religious persecution, and just being from the ethnic minority, where my ethnic group has been facing mass executions for centuries. Our population just keeps decreasing, and the government doesn't really do anything. And so there were a lot of things that really shaped me as who I am today. And especially when, the sacrifices that my parents had to make, like when the Taliban took in my dad and, tortured him to a point where it affected him for the rest of his life, where he couldn't even move or protect my family or provide for my family. And, my mother, she was beaten in public crowds multiple times. She was, dragged on the streets. She was ran over by motorcycles just simply because she was letting her daughters go to school. And so, there were a lot of things like this, and just things that happened to my friends, like the Taliban killed some of my very, very close friends that I could, call family, and just, different events that took place throughout my life. And so I wanted to advocate for all the injustices that are happening to, other girls, other children, other families, other minority groups, and especially my cousins who were forced to get married when they were very young. And I could never imagine that happening to myself. And so since then, I became an activist, and right now I'm a global human rights activist at International Congress of Youth Voices, where we meet yearly and to just try to bring advancements to the rest of the world.
So obviously you have quite a story that's infused this passion in your life. You ended up at Calvin. Can you talk a little bit about how you got to Calvin, and also how you see Calvin helping you kind of get to where you want to go, helping you work to help change some of these systems that you see that are so broken?
Yeah, I'm definitely very, very grateful that I found out about Calvin. So I came to Michigan 3 years ago, and I went to high school here for my last year, and that's when I heard about Calvin from my church. And everyone just always talked such amazing things about Calvin. I didn't even know what Calvin was or anything, and so I had applied to a lot of different schools and I got into them, but I just kept praying for God to show me what school was right. And I can't explain how many different signs there were that Calvin was the right school. And so when I started there, I got so much support. I was able to do just a lot of different organizations. I was able to go to a bunch of conferences and really try to work and serve towards my mission, which is fighting inequality in any system and in any way that I am able to. And I got a lot of help from my professors who are always encouraging me, always writing my references. And, even just working at Calvin, I just felt that I was surrounded by family that constantly prayed over me, that would anoint me, that every time that I would go speak at a conference, I worked at the Career Center, and so everyone there would just pray over me, and it was, like Calvin just became a very special part in my heart, and it still is, and I can't imagine how else it would have been if I hadn't been there.
So just to finish the interview today, Freshta, can you remind us of what you're doing with So True and how we can get involved?
Yes, so the mission of So True is to help the homeless, especially during this pandemic that's affecting many lives. The homeless don't have insurance to healthcare, and they don't really have anywhere to go, to eat, to shower, and everything. And so I came up with So True to, help these individuals. And anyone who wants to help, I would be very appreciative, and I thank you in advance. There are a few ways that I can think of at the top of my hand that you can contribute and help out. And one would be donations. I know recently we've received a lot of different donations from different individuals. So thank you very much if that's you. And another way is if you have any extra fabric, tablecloths, or even clothes that you're waiting to take to Goodwill. When I started making these masks, I started using, Goodwill piles. And so I would also be thankful for that. But then also you can either make the purchases for yourself and your friends and your family, or you can make the purchases for the homeless, and I will be able to deliver to them.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Freshta, for all you're doing, for stepping up and helping a population that needs it right now and maybe doesn't have access the way that some of us might have access to some of these things. So thank you for your willingness to step up, and please know that the Calvin community is behind you, praying for you, supporting you, and hopefully we can get a number of other people in our community involved in helping support the homeless population.
Great. Thank you so much.